Greetings, my brothers and sisters, and welcome to the first full week of what I am coining Mindful March. And I call it mindful for two reasons. One, Mercury goes retrograde on March 23rd, and second, this entire month will be a march toward the story you were born to live. From my smartphone to yours, keep streaming for your weekly Namaste Today. Welcome to Namaste Today, a rockin' spiritual way to kickstart the day. I'm your host and spiritual life coach, Sensei Christopher Witecki. Welcome back, dear friend. Namaste. Well, we are on to what I call a mindful march. That is a march away from the karmic story you were born to and a march toward your sacred destiny. This week, after cutting away from an intense full moon and negative karma last week, we now begin the walk towards the story we were born to live. So in this week's show, I'm going to talk about what it takes for you to ascend higher, and later in your tea time, I'm going to talk about your destiny now coming true. But first, let's take a look at the week's moods and your zodiac weather. This zodiac weather is from Monday, March 5th to Friday, March 9th, 2018. Looking at your 5-day moodcast. As I look at the week at a glance, it's all sunny, climbing one step at a time. Let's drill down. On Monday, it's sunny and super secure. Step 15 rules the day, and a moon in Scorpio affirms your boundaries. On Tuesday, it's sunny and sacred, as step 16 rules the day, calling into your spiritual alignment. On Wednesday, it's sunny and clear. Step 17 rules the day, and a moon in Scorpio allows you to make firm decisions. On Thursday, it's sunny and ascending. Your dreams take off as step 18 rules the day, and a moon in Sag calls to the story you were born to live. And then on Friday, it's sunny and creative, as step 19 manifests your destiny, and the moon crossing the galactic center affirms your truth. Well, in the upcoming week, I think it's all about ascending to your higher story. So our next segment, I'm going to walk you through each day, and we'll talk about Black Lilith. Taking a sneak peek at the upcoming week, I'm coining this week, Ascending to Higher Ground. Now, welcome, my friends, to the month of March, Mindful March as I like to call it, because this month, I believe you are going to march to your personal destiny. And so far, with the first 2 weeks of the sun in Pisces, it has been mostly tumultuous. It's been difficult, right? That's because we were being called to shed off our old karmic behavior. And I don't know about you, but in that last week with the full moon, I got triggered on nearly every karmic issue that I have, every fear I've had since childhood, every bad dream I've had. The universe was kind of like saying to me over and over again, are you sure you don't want to keep this? Are you sure you don't want to keep that? And I kept saying, no, 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 I want to see higher ground. Well, this week, that's precisely what's going to happen. It is now time to move forward and step it on up to the story you were born to live. And we have two major forces doing this. On the one hand, the sun, which is in Pisces, and Pisces represents our spiritual frequency or our karmic story. So we are literally moving the karmic story to a higher ground this week. And secondly, Mars, which tells me where the action energy is, Mars is in Sagittarius, and it is marching toward the galactic center, which is the story we were born to live. In fact, Mars crosses the galactic center 1 week from this Monday. So this is all a march towards our destiny in two different areas. Now, what's also interesting about this week are Venus and Mercury. Venus and Mercury both move into Aries, even though we are in Pisces. What does that mean? That means that as you ascend to a higher spiritual frequency, which comes down to really greater self-compassion, less judgment, less, worry, less of the dogma, less of the lower vibration. As you are rising your spirit upward, your mind, Mercury, and your openness, Venus, is going to shift on a new ego. And that's going to be the real focus of the sun in Aries. We're going to have to put out a new ego, which is an action-based, kind of Pavlov behavior-based part of our soul. It is our action-reaction energy. Obviously, it's our fighting energy, all that sort of thing, represented by Mars. But as we are ascending into a higher spiritual frequency, we're at the same time starting to explore what this new ego is about. The other interesting thing about this week, in my opinion, is old Black Lilith, which I don't know if you follow or not in astrology, but Black Lilith kind of represents where humankind is facing fears. Black Lilith has been at step 12 for a while. All last week when we had the full moon and we were shedding old karma, Black Lilith was at step 12. Step 12, Black Lilith would be fear of the unknown. But this week, Black Lilith moves to step 13, which means that we will be facing fears of dimensional shift. And I mean that dimensional in a good way, not that he's dimensional. You know what I mean? We're going to be facing any fears that has to do with changing our world, changing our dimension, changing our perspective. And that just tells me that we will, in fact, go through a dimensional shift this week if we are facing our fears around shifting. So I'm going to walk you through the week and kind of talk about this build-up. In fact, it's a literal clean build-up from Monday to Friday where you are basically manifesting your new spiritual platform, your new spiritual Om, the starting place of your soul. And that's a good way to look at this, incidentally. I mean, our soul is our essence. It's the beginning of our incarnation and our manifestation. And that's what we're swapping out here. Many of you, if you're like me, your inner essence might have been full of fear, doubt, stress, worry, regret, all these kind of negative vibrations. That was the karma I was born to anyways. My childhood replicated it. My early 20s replicated it. And what we're changing this week is a new Om, a new inner being, a new starting place that we wake up to each day. All right? So Monday, one thing I'll say, we're in a two-part week, a two-step week. So what that means is we wake up to a step number and then we quickly shift to a step number. That's why I give two-step numbers in the zodiac weather, by the way. And it kind of varies depending on where you live on the earth. If you live in North America, we're waking up and the step number is changing right away. If you live in Asia and Europe and Australia, you wake up to a step and then it changes the step at the end of the day. Either way, it's important for you to know that the step you wake up to is the step your soul is encoded to, okay? So you're encoded to that step, and that step still rules even though we change steps. So that said, Monday we wake up to step 14, and that means that we wake up to our mind ruling the day. So Monday is going to be a very pensive day, a lot of conversation, a lot of realization. Basically, Monday is an orientation of like, okay, I've shut off all my dogma, I've shut off my karma, now what? You know, that's basically the question that my mind asks. And the moon is in Scorpio, but in the first chapter of Scorpio, the first decan. So on Monday, you're kind of asking now what, but having the moon there, you might feel a little anxiety, a little insecurity. You might have to like go check to make sure the door is locked, that sort of thing, somewhat vulnerable. So I think that we're going to have to orientate ourselves on safety in our new spiritual dimension. It's like now that nothing's wrong, now that we've cut away our karma, are we in danger? And I think that question is going to come up on Monday. But the cool thing is Monday ends with total peace. Step 15 rules the end of Monday. And we have this conjunction on Monday with Venus and Mercury and Chiron. So part of Monday is also opening up the spectrum of hope, of what's possible. So we're not only saying everything's fine, but we're also saying on Monday, and everything will be fine. So we're kind of setting up the avenue of growth. Tuesday I coin as sunny and sacred. We wake up feeling peaceful with step 15. Then we shift into step 16, which is a grandmaster step of Pisces. Anytime you hit a grandmaster step, Pisces is the number of 7. So when you have a degree that adds to 7, like 16, you have what I call a grandmaster step. And that means that that's when the actual state of awareness gets encoded. So for Pisces, the actual state of awareness gets encoded for step 7, step 16, and step 25. They all net to a 7. Encoded means you reach a turning point in that particular story. So Tuesday, we reach a turning point. I think Tuesday is the first day where we go, I think I'm going to be okay. Like, I don't think there's going to be an anvil fall on my head. I think everything's going to turn out all right. So Tuesday turns into a spiritual day and a sacred day. But here's the weird thing about Tuesday. As soon as we feel okay, Black Lilith moves to step 13, which means now we have this fear of dimensional shift. We know that we're okay, but we're kind of afraid of what comes next. We're afraid of where we're going. And even though I think it's better for us, higher vibration, more peace, less turmoil, because it's out of our comfort zone, there still will be some fears that come up. So you might have to do some extra nurturing. The other cool thing is Neptune moves from step 13 to 14 on Tuesday, which is huge. Neptune's been at 13, I can't even remember how long back. I have to do my research, but Neptune at 14 means it's now time to get our mind around this new spiritual level. So on Tuesday, we start to get our mind around this new spiritual level. It's a turning point in our spiritual story, and Venus is at step 29 Pisces, which means we are opening up to the greatest, most possible that there is. So we're kind of seeing how high does this stairway to heaven go is one of the questions that comes on Tuesday. And I think Tuesday will be a very sacred day in the sense that it's excellent for healing, it's excellent for meditation, it's excellent for any type of spiritual ritual that you practice. And I always recommend to my clients that you practice something. Wednesday, sunny and clear. So Wednesday is going to be a decision day. You wake up in that step 16 kind of awe, that angelic awe, and then we move to step 17, at which point you're ready to make a decision. So I think Wednesday is the day where you start to go, okay, I think I've always been here spiritually, the victim. I've always been, the one beat up on. Or you could be, dark and evil person going, I've always been mean to people. And now I want to be here. So Wednesday is the day when you really have some idea of where this spiritual story is going. And what's fascinating about Wednesday, I love the planets. They're so coordinated. As soon as you decide where the spiritual story is going, Venus moves into Aries, which means, okay, now we must open up to Venus, a new ego, which you could also say we must open up to new behavior. If you don't want to be the mean person anymore, time for new behavior. If you don't want to be the one beat up on anymore, time for new behavior. So Wednesday we're kind of coordinating that all this needs to happen. The moon crosses Jupiter also in the course of Wednesday, just slightly before we wake up actually. And so we're also feeling out what our boundaries must be. Well, if I'm going to be this, then my walls need to be up here and here, but not here. I need to be open to God, but closed to the devil. You know what I mean? So Wednesday is a big figuring it out day. And if you're confused, I'd say you'll probably won't be clear. You'll be clear on where things are going by Wednesday night. Thursday is when things start to get exciting. Thursday, we wake up with our decisions, like I've decided to leave the devil behind, you know what I mean? And I want to go towards the light. So we wake up feeling very charged. Then step 18 rules a day, which is an actionary step. And this is when we begin what I call the march, all right? That's why I'm saying this is a mindful march. We are marching toward the light, step by step, day by day, only taking it one step at a day. And so on Thursday, this is when you actually begin to start to ascend. Venus and Mercury are well into Aries, so as you're taking it step by step, you're having to re-coordinate what your behavior is. Your behavior has to change. You're not going to react this way like you used to. You're not going to initiate that way like you used to. So Thursday is a day where we're trying to start to get our balance. And what's interesting is Mars now has reached step 24 by Thursday. And so by Thursday, you are now coordinating the new you with Uranus at step 26, that's what Uranus represents, the new you with the story you were born to live. So as of Thursday, we start to see things begin to line up in our life, and we see this coordination going on. The moon is in Sagittarius on Thursday. It started actually the night before, but it's in Sagittarius on Thursday. And what that means is we're starting to feel our story and feel our journey. And as you begin your march, I would not be surprised that you get reminded of your past. So, for instance, if this was Jesus Christ doing his march, he would probably, in the beginning on Thursday, walk past a couple of people being crucified. You know what I mean? You're going to see some symbolism of what you've gone through in the past on Thursday. And I'm just telling you that so you don't think that it's a bad omen. In fact, it's the opposite. It's saying, these days are over. You're not the one on the cross, right? And so don't get confused or disillusioned, because one thing about Pisces is disillusionment. You can really get spooked by the boogeyman when you don't need to. And then on Friday, it's sunny and creative. And this is the day that I think is super exciting because this day is a step 19 day, so it's a day of manifesting. So this is where you start to feel momentum. You can see like your life is taking off. Things are changing. You are ascending to a higher level. Lo and behold. And the moon crosses Mars, which is now starting to conjunct the galactic center. So I think Friday or Friday night, you're going to feel so different. I think you're going to feel the new reality. You're going to feel very excited. You're going to feel pumped up and fired up. Mars is trining Uranus. You're going to feel your new self. You're going to feel your new path. And so, and it's very important what you put into action on Friday. So you may feel the temptation to slip back into the old. Don't, okay? You will pollute the magical spell. You want to stay focused on the path to your personal destiny, whatever your heart is calling to, and whatever your soul is calling to. And then on Saturday, it's going to be kind of emotional and sensitive. And then on Sunday, you're going to start to see a rainbow come out, and you're going to start to realize that you are in a new spiritual world. Now, I want to get a little deeper on what this march to higher ground is. So go steep yourself some tea, and let's have our weekly tea time. Hello, my friend, and welcome to our tea time. Today's tea time topic is rising to your destiny. And I do believe these are karmic times. And you may go, what does that mean? Well, it means you really can't screw up, to be honest. I think it's one of those times of our life where fate and destiny are taking over. Your job is mostly to show up and be who you are. That's what I've experienced in my life when fate takes over. And there's a couple of ways of knowing when fate takes over. One is just any energy in Pisces, okay? So Pisces is the state of awareness, the consciousness that is between heaven and earth. That's basically the two fish swimming different directions if you know the Pisces glyph. The Pisces glyph represents part of your consciousness, one fish, staying true to heaven, part of your consciousness staying true to earth. But it's only during when the sun is in Pisces that we actually coordinate the earth and heaven story together, all right? And so it's during this time in Pisces that because the fish are comparing, you know what I mean, those two parts of ourselves are comparing, that we start to get back on whatever our spiritual story is. Due to our ego, due to our mind, due to our fears, due to our emotions, we get off track every year after the sun in Pisces, and we forget what our spiritual destiny is. So this is a fated time because the sun's in Pisces, but it's more than that. God Universe is giving extra credit, extra investments in Pisces consciousness. One is Neptune, which as I mentioned was at step 13 during the full moon last week and is at step 14 this week. So Neptune is the ruler of Pisces. And whenever the ruler is in its own sign, that means the entire sign is getting an upgrade. Not just the individuals in the sign, but the entire sign as well. So that tells me that fate is really taking over because God Universe is saying all spirituality as a whole must go up as people within the spirituality go up. The other planet of great interest is Chiron. Chiron has now moved to step 27, which is basically spirit in action, if you want to coin it. And it's at step 27, Pisces. Chiron is the healing kind of energy. It is basically, it's kind of like building a road, okay? Let's look at it that way. Chiron is tearing up the pavement and laying down the new foundation so that there can be a new road. And Neptune is following behind Chiron and laying down the new road. And because Neptune just went to step 13 and 14, that means the road just went up to a bridge. Okay, so our spiritual road this year is going through its annual upgrade, but the entire road itself is ascending to a higher degree. This is why I think we are all rising to our personal destiny. Now, the other aspect that has me convinced that fate is taking over is Mars in Sagittarius. If you've been watching me for a while, I've been talking about the story we were born to live, which I calculate around the galactic center, which is the center of the Milky Way. all right? And this spot, the galactic center, basically is what happened in 2012. In December 2012, the galactic center moved from step 26 to step 27. That's basically all that happened, right? But that was huge. We moved from decision to action, 27, all right? Remember, Chiron's at 27 this week, so that means there's a lot of action going on. Well, Mars is the fire starter. So we had the sun go through Sagittarius in December, and it was like realizing what our story needs to be, right? We had Mercury retrograde back and forth in December, which means, hey, rethink what your story needs to be. And then we were kind of left alone with it until Mars showed up, and Mars has been systematically, step by step, actually pushing us towards whatever that fated story is. And this week, Mars makes basically its last lap. Mars will conjoin the galactic center a week from Monday, which means it is absolute go time. The fuse has been lit. And the timing is absolutely perfect because we rise to our new spiritual story and God wastes no time and says, let's start that fire. Let's get moving. So for each of the 12 signs, I want to talk about two things. Where you are ascending when it comes to your spiritual story with the sun in Pisces on this new bridge over troubled waters. Simon Garfunkel plug there. And then I want to talk about Mars and what it's pushing in your story and where your story you were born to live actually manifests. And it's not just Mars. Don't forget the moon goes into Sagittarius on Thursday and Friday. So we are feeling this full story this week. We end up feeling it. And as the moon crosses Mars on Friday, we're going to feel amped up. We're going to feel our calling. We're going to feel the charge. All right? And one last time I will say, you probably want to listen to your rising sign and your sun sign, because when we're talking about destiny and fate, that's much more a part of your rising sign than it is your sun sign. Your sun sign is vital for it to happen, but your rising sign is really what's going to change. And for my Series Joy subscribers, we're talking about your B story. You want to pay attention for your A, but your B story is going to be where things be, right? And that's what it means. Oh, one last thing. I will always put a graphic up here on this side so you can fast forward to your sign if you're pressed for time. Aries. Aries are committing this week and manifesting to a higher spiritual path, okay? And what that means is basically a new inner faith that's compassionate. That's the best way to kind of describe what the higher spiritual path is, compassionate. Whereas you used to worry and you used to freak out and you used to go into all sorts of poor me's or self-destructive behavior, now you're just going to be compassionate. Compassionate is, it's okay, I'm going to keep going. It's okay, I'll be fine. It's okay. Let's see if the world ends. So you're going to learn to a new compassionate faith. That's your higher spiritual bridge over troubled water. What Mars is pushing for you to do is move forward with what you believe. Okay, and this is what makes you a hero. Okay, Aries, because what you believe is probably not what the other people believe. What you believe is probably not what your family believes. What you believe is probably not what society tells you. That's why you're a hero, that you stand behind your beliefs and you take action on them. Okay, so it's time to move forward with your purpose, which is based on what you believe, not what you've been told. And as you go down this path of this purpose, you must be compassionate each step of the way. Taurus. Taurus, you are now committing to compassionate social aims. Now, when I say compassionate social aims, I mean you must be compassionate to yourself, Taurus. You don't have to put out more milk than you're capable of in a given day. You don't have to plow more fields than your hooves feel like doing, okay? By being compassionate to yourself, you will automatically be compassionate to other people on earth. You don't have to worry about being compassionate of others if you're compassionate to yourself. So this new higher road for you, the bridge over troubled water, is that you are being kind to yourself with all of your social ambitions, okay? Now what Mars says is, it's time to move forward with transforming yourself. All right, making the changes that you've been putting off to the last minute. I'm talking to myself here. Okay, you hear me, Wuteki? It's time to make those changes. And we know, Tauruses are like, you know, we kind of like sit there chewing the curd and we wait to pull the trigger. Sensei says the trigger is now. You changing who you are is part of your destiny, is what it is. So You were called to be one thing and change into another. And the fact that people see you change from one thing to another, that's part of your social aim. That's part of what you're here to do. So Tauruses, be compassionate to yourself and what your social ambition is and make that change, to quote Michael Jackson now. Gemini! Gemini, it's time to be compassionate about your future. So a lot of Geminis I know are kind of like, they freak out, they worry too much. My son literally gets a sick stomach worrying about his future. And I'm like, son, you're just going to wing it like you always have, like you did in high school. You know what I mean? Like, just going to wing it. But it's time for Geminis to be compassionate, which kind of means also that, you know, you're trying to stay in your head with all your decisions, and that's why you're worrying so much. So compassionate decisions means you consult your feelings before you make the decision, that you consult your intuition before you make the decision. It's not going to be logic. Remember, the brain only knows what it has been introduced to. So if you're trying to do something new in your life, your brain won't know about it. You're not going to find the answer in your brain. Okay? So compassionate decision making, compassionate self-leadership, being kind to your feelings in your direction. That's your bridge over troubled water. And what you're going to move ahead with are your strategic alliances and partnerships. The story you were born to live, Gemini, was to be partnered with somebody. That might be in business, that might be in love, that might be in friendship, that might be part of a social movement like my oneness care thing I'm involved with. Whatever it is, you're a Gemini, you're always looking for your twin. So of course you're looking for your reflection in the world, and of course your reflection in the world is a part of the story you were born to live. But you must be compassionate to yourself inside and with your decisions to find and move forward with those partnerships. Cancers. Cancers must be compassionate about believing in themselves. And this is where Cancers go wrong. They fall out of belief with themselves. They fall into worry. They fall into regret. It's time, if your heart believes something, Cancer, then be compassionate and stop picking it apart. Be compassionate and stop arguing with yourself. Be compassionate and stop arguing with other people so you can prove to yourself that you're right. All right, so the bridge over troubled water for Cancer is to be compassionate about their beliefs, be patient with their own learning, be patient with their own discovery. Once they put in that compassionate, patient tone, they will be on to their destiny. Now, Mars in Sagittarius for Cancer says it's time to move ahead and march ahead with the lifestyle you want to live. And obviously you must be compassionate, which means not too fast, not too hot, not too cold. It's like the Goldilocks and the Three Bears. You want it to be just right, okay? So for Cancers, that means yes, quitting the job. Yes, moving to a new town. Yes, pulling your kids out of school and doing homeschool. Whatever you've been thinking about as far as a greater lifestyle, the universe says now. Now is the time, Cancer. Leos. Leos must be compassionate when it comes to their boundaries and trusting themselves. Okay, so Leos tend to freak out about like, oh, I shouldn't have said that to that person. I shouldn't have crossed that street. I shouldn't have. And they're very, very hard on themselves and judgmental because they don't want to make a mistake and they still want to be loved by everybody. So they have been super critical. And that criticism of where the line is drawn has been the fall of your self-esteem. So the bridge over troubled water for Leos is to be compassionate about where the line is drawn. And compassionate means use your intuition. It's like, feels like it should be here. All right? No logic, no predecessor, no background check. It just feels right. This is the spot that feels the best. That's compassionate. Okay? So it's time to draw boundaries with yourself and others based on what feels the best. That's how you rise to the bridge over troubled waters. Now, what moves ahead as a result are your personal dreams, your serious joy. So Leos are going to be falling in love first with themselves and then with others if you're single, okay? If a Leo's already in a relationship, then you're going to fall in greater love with yourself and you're going to go through a greater love story. But your galactic center is all harbored around what your heart would love the most. And it's going to take compassionate boundaries for you to march toward your destiny. Virgos. Virgos have to now rise to spiritual, compassionate relationships. And that starts with themselves. They must be compassionate to themselves, and they must be compassionate to others. So in other words, before you tell somebody, Virgo, that they've got dribble hanging out of their mouth or that their zipper's undone, ask yourself, how would that make you feel if you were in public doing a speech and someone in the front row said your fly was down? You know what I mean? So Virgos, your bridge over troubled waters is, before you criticize and bring in all that hyper criticism and analysis, do a little compassion check and ask yourself how it would feel for that criticism. You can always tell them when they're off stage later. You can always tell them in passing other places. And this applies mostly to yourself, Virgo. I think Virgos are very critical to themselves. That's why they don't think twice about being critical to others, because it's the way they treat themselves. It's good for them. It's good for the gander, right? But it has always been too harsh. And that's why you haven't gone as far as you could go, because you're too hard on yourself, too hard on others. So the bridge over troubled water for Virgos is compassionate relationships, which turn into spiritual relationships. And what this does is, with Mars heading for the galactic center, you are building a rock-solid emotional foundation. So it's time to move forward with home changes, family changes, self-nurturing changes, comfort changes, okay? So it's okay to buy the sleep number bed. It's okay to buy the silk sheets. It's time to move forward with you feeling amazing, because when you feel amazing, Virgo, you end up being amazing to others, okay? A lot of times the reason why you're pointing out people's mistake is because you feel bad to begin with. So the story you're born to live is to feel better, to feel secure, to feel safe, and to be compassionate in your relations. Libras. Libras need to learn to be compassionate moment to moment, all right? And Libras, they seek compassion. They seek things to be peaceful. They seek things to be all Venus and nice. But what happens, I find, is Libras overanalyze. They overanalyze. They're like, blah, 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 maybe it should be red or maybe blue. I don't know. They go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. By the way, mental energy is not compassion. The mind is not capable of compassion. Your emotions are. So what this is saying is, Libra, get out of your mind. Feel it out. And if you feel it out, like closing your eyes and just feeling it out, you will feel the compassionate path. So that means it's time to build a compassionate life. That is, compassionate. It feels good to go to work. It feels good to wake up. It feels good to put on your clothes. It feels good. Your whole day is based on what feels the best, not what you think would be balanced or in harmony. All right? So this is your bridge over troubled waters, analyzing your life by what feels the best. Now, what it's time to move ahead with are your plans. Once you are in peace and living a compassionate moment, then it's time to move forward with anything your mind has come up with. Legal plans, manifesting content. So if you're a person who's a creative intellectual, like an artist or a musician or an analyst or a computer programmer or a messenger like myself, the universe says the calling you were born to live, your destiny, is something that mind came up with. In fact, that's kind of an interesting point. Your mind is not designed to be analyzing what's fair and balanced in the moment. Your mind is here to be philosophical about how the whole world can be balanced and fair. Save your brain energy for your message. Use your compassion on your moment. Boy, you can quote that. That was great. Scorpio. Scorpio need to be compassionate with their own heart. Okay, so Scorpios have been hurt. They've been damaged. They haven't been compassionate to their own heart. They've been worried about other people. And even when they are in pain, Scorpios don't let up on themselves. They just like think about it and think about it and think about the betrayal and think about the betrayal. They're really hard on themselves and their heart. They worry a lot. Their heart won't get what they want. None of that is compassionate behavior, Scorpio. Compassionate behavior to your heart is, it's okay, I will make sure you get it. Everything will be fine. If you need this, you can have it now. If you need that, you can have it now. Compassion is going along with the needs of your heart instead of all these insistence of what it has to be and when it has to be and what it can't be. And that's a lot of things of Scorpio. It can't be this and it can't be that. How about it just be whatever your heart needs? Forget all the nots. Let's focus on the I ams, all right? So Scorpios, their bridge over troubled water is being compassionate to their own heart's needs. Now, what this turns into is the story they were born to live is to manifest something. All right, so this could be money, this could be a curriculum, this could be a company, this could be an internet site. They're here to manifest abundance. They're here to manifest things. Why you? Because you have morals and good boundaries. That's why you're the person who should be running the factory. But if you're not kind to your own heart and compassionate to yourself, you're not going to be able to feel valuable. So you must be compassionate to your heart to feel valuable, to manifest your destiny, which is to manifest something cool. Sagittariuses must be compassionate with their own feelings. Sagittarius have this habit of just putting their feelings to the side and gunning it, okay, without even thinking. And so as a result, they make lots of mistakes. They hit walls. They get taken advantage of, all these different things. So your bridge over troubled water is being checking your feelings every moment of every day. Not making a move unless it feels correct, it feels centered, it feels balanced. If you now make your emotional sign-off as part of your intellectual how you run and function, you will be in harmony with yourself and the universe. And what this will turn into is moving ahead with your destiny, and Sagittarius' destiny is to be who they are. The reason why is because Sagittarius are basically walking biological encyclopedias. They absorb all this lessons and facts, and they feel the urge to walk into this bar or walk into this party. And in that bar or party, over 5 or 6 drinks, they literally have shared half their knowledge with the world. So Sagittarius, you're only meant to be who you are. The problem is you've been operating feeling like crap. So you haven't been doing your real God destiny there, because when you show up to these parties, you're already hungover, right? So you must be compassionate to your feelings so you can be who you really are. Capricorns must be now compassionate in their thinking. And that means that you must think, how would this make me feel? And you must think, how would this make me feel if I were them? Okay, so your mind must be considering how you might feel before you write the order for the execution. Okay, before you sign the check to sell dad's company, before you take any kind of action, how will it make you feel? That is revolutionary. That is the evolved Capricorn who cares about their feelings. Cancer, their opposite sign. Get it? So it makes you whole to consider your opposite sign. So the bridge over troubled water is you are concerned with your feelings each step of the way. And what this does is this puts you on the path of your spiritual mission. Believe it or not, particularly if you're a Capricorn rising, you were born to serve God universe. You were born to serve the Milky Way. Your galactic center is sitting right on the eye of God if you have a Capricorn rising. And what that means is you've been here to serve spirit. That's why you're powerful. That's why you're so good at leadership, because you're leading us to a higher day. All right? But if you don't have compassionate thinking, ain't going to happen. Aquarius must be compassionate when it comes to values and manifestation. All right? And what this means is whatever you create, whatever you manifest, you must take in consideration how you will feel. You must take into consideration how others will feel. All right? And Aquarius is the thing about Aquarius is they have this big vision and they see the light and they just aim for it like a vector. And a lot of times Aquariuses end up stomping all over their feelings and other people to get to the destination. They don't even notice that Aquariuses can be the ones that run people down on the way to the fire exit, and they don't mean to. It's not in their morals to do that, but they did not consider feelings before they manifested. So if you take on a compassionate manifester, if you consider the feelings of others and yourself, more importantly than others, because if you care about yourself, you'll naturally think of others. But if you're compassionate about how your manifestations will be, and if you're compassionate about your values, in other words, don't judge yourself for not getting the raise, be compassionate. It's okay you didn't get the raise. If you do that, then you will rise to the bridge over troubled waters. Now, what you're going to do by being compassionate with your values and using your feelings to assimilate your values is you're going to move ahead with what your real true purpose is in society. So astrology is suggesting that the only reason you haven't found where you belong in the world is because you've been too harsh on yourself with your values. It must be this, it must be that, and not compassionate to what felt right. So by being compassionate to your values, you will find your place in the world. And that's what you're marching toward this week. And then lastly, the Pisces. Save the best for last, right, Pisces? Pisces are going through a big metamorphosis. This is kind of like snake shedding skin, caterpillar, butterfly, okay? Pisces must be compassionate about their behavior. Before they do anything, they must check, how will it make you feel? Okay? And then, of course, how will it make someone else feel as well? So by considering your feelings, which automatically include your intuition and soul information, you will transform into a new, higher, more spiritual, higher compassionate being. Pisces are going through a major shift right now, all right? And this is an eon shift, as I like to say. This is a huge shift. By being compassionate in your day-to-day self with your behavior to yourself and your behavior to others, you will find your true calling and legacy for your career. So if you're stuck on what you're going to be when you grow up, it's probably because you are being unfair and judgmental and not compassionate in your behavior. And so if you become compassionate in your day-to-day behavior, you will discover your calling as far as career and legacy. And I do believe that whatever you find this time, Pisces, will be the one you are known for. So as you can hear, this is a march to our personal destiny. And I, for one, am so glad that we are out of the troubled water. Couple of announcements for you, my friend. I'm hosting a Love Fest Day. I'm co-hosting it with Oneness.care, a new organization out of Denver here, which is dedicated to helping people feel one within themselves. And we believe if you feel one within, you will feel one without. So this is basically a 4-hour workshop on how to come into your spiritual symmetry, how to come into your spiritual oneness. We're going to do body movement, which is part of the founder, Melissa Walker. Forgot her last name for a second. Melissa Walker is going to walk us through some body movement. I'm going to be speaking about the 6 steps to personal peace, and we have a master Virgo who's going to help us with meditation. A Virgo who's a master at meditation. Can you believe that? It's going to be from 1 to 4 p.m. on March 18th, which is the day the sun conjuncts Chiron. Can you believe that? We didn't even plan that. I looked it up, but I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, this is destiny. And of course, anyone in the Denver area, I've had a lot of people in Denver say to me, Chris, when are you holding an event in Denver? When are you bringing the Denver peeps together? This is it. Okay, like, this is it. This is the Love Fest. So come on down. You will get time with me. We have little breaks scheduled, so anyone who watches my show, come give me a hug. Let's meet face to face, break some pita bread, okay, and get to know one another. It's 1 to 4. We're asking for donations at the door, and yes, people have asked, we will be streaming this live on the internet, but it won't be quite the same as being there. Again, March 18th, Oneness at 1 p.m. And then I want to bring up my personal Sensei service. We are growing by leaps and bounds. This is the time for you to have a personal life coach moment to moment. Come check out my service. Right now, I just released the Megascope monthly reports, which is basically an audio report that covers the entire month. I always give you the report for your sun sign and the report for your rising sign. Plus, I include all 12 signs in case you want to look up your mother or your daughter or your brother or whatnot. It's only $3.99 to join, and you will thank yourself for doing it because March begins with a full moon and ends with a full moon, which means we will not be the same once this month is over. If you'd like to learn more about my service, come on down to SeriousJoy.com. And then lastly, a heartfelt, friendly invitation to join the #1 club on the web for light and love. It's called the Namaste Today Club. And this is a place where you can come, post your articles, post your questions, advertise your spiritual business. As long as it's compassionate, we say yes. And I will be telecasting the Oneness.care event, Love Fest Day, to the Namaste Today Club. So if you'd like to be a member of the club and join, it's totally free. Come on down to namastetoday.club. All right, friend, I'd like to wish you good luck on your march to your destiny. I will be back in 7 days with more. Until then, remember I love you, and to live, love, be.